Is the Sony A6600 digital camera right for you? In this very detailed video, you'll see lots of images and hands-on demonstration of its stills and video features.
Hey photographers, Sony has raised the bar. Again, this is the A6600, and Sony has been very generous, endowing this camera with much of the capabilities of their top-of-the-line full-frame models. It has a spectacular focus system and the best battery life in this class. The A6600 camera does it all. Photos, either in-camera JPEGs with a large selection of preset color profiles or 14-bit compressed RAW files. The 24-megapixel images are crisp, clear, with excellent dynamic range and color. Although modifying either of those to suit your preferences is provided in the extensive, if complicated, menu system. Video with slow motion and time-lapse modes, and the most comprehensive color and dynamic range control available in any camera. The A6600, like the other cameras in the A6000 series, has an APS-C sensor. It's a mirrorless camera with an offset electronic viewfinder, and it uses E-mount lenses. There are E-mount adapters for just about every other lens type. If you are familiar with Sony's A6000 family, the A6600 stands apart by using a larger battery, about twice the capacity of its SIBs. That results in a slightly larger and more comfortable grip. Like the A6500, it has 5-stop in-body stabilization. Sony added a headphone jack for audio monitoring. Now, it also has the latest and best version of Sony's Face-Eye autofocus, like the A7R4, and that works in video. What it doesn't have is onboard flash, 2 card slots, or panorama mode. Now let me give you the full rundown. This is a long video, so please use the menu in the description below to navigate to the part that interests you.
It remains a small and a light camera, just over 500 grams. But it is the heaviest camera in the family, and thanks to the improved grip, it's the largest. It's a rather utilitarian, weather-sealed design. On top, there's a forward slanted on-off shutter combo, a packed mode dial, and a single adjustment dial. 2 custom buttons on top, 2 more on the back. A combo switch and button for focus settings and exposure lock, and a combo dial and button to navigate and select menu settings. All are easily accessed using my right hand. There's no integrated flash, but there is a flash hot shoe. The 2.3 million dot viewfinder is to the left of the lens. A -4 to +3 diopter adjusts enough to suit my prescription. The menu selects 60 or 120 frame refresh. The 7.5 centimeter LCD has an unimpressive 920K dot resolution. It tilts up 180 for front-side shooting and down enough to shoot overhead. There's lots of customization for these screens. Cycle through the options by pressing the disp key. Left side ports for mic in and headphone out, as well as micro HDMI and USB. The battery and SD card are accessed from the bottom, leaving lots of room for a tripod quick release plate. This is the new Z battery, providing about twice the range of the older W-type battery. And I have to mention the card slot because it's facing the right way, making it easier to remove the card than other Sony cameras. Before shooting, best to do a quick menu review of basic settings. I switch from the default JPEG quality to extra fine and add RAW, which is compressed 14-bit. I set video quality to XAVCS 4K, 30 frames, 100 megabits, and turned movie with shutter on. That enables the shutter button to start and stop video in video mode. There are 3 shutter options. The default is electronic front, which closes after the image is taken. Or turn the E-front off, which looks like this in a 1-second exposure. And there's a silent setting for a fully electronic shutter. I set the touch operation to tracking, Set auto review to 2 seconds. I like to see the image I've just taken. The gamut disp assist to auto. Display quality to high, along with the auto power off temperature, also high. Touch operation is enabled or disabled here, along with settings to use the LCD as a touchpad while shooting with the viewfinder. Select which area of the screen you want. The format function is buried deep in the setup screens, and we might as well activate Bluetooth to sync time and GPS location from your phone to the camera. I asked if I could borrow the G-Series 70 to 350mm lens with the camera. The big advantage to the G-Series is the focus button on the camera, which I assign to Eye Autofocus. For me, that feature alone makes this camera just killer for faces and portraits. This is an APS-C format lens, and at 625 grams it tips the camera's weight balance forward. There's no tripod mount, it is an optically stabilized lens. The manual zoom ring turns smoothly, about a quarter turn wide to tight. The lens extends as you zoom for a total length of about 20 centimeters. There's a lock to prevent it from accidentally extending. Aperture when wide is 4.5, it ramps to f6.3 as you zoom in. The closest focus at wide is over a meter, that ramps to 1.5 meters as you zoom in. Filter diameter is 67 millimeters. In addition to the focus button, there are switches to disable the optical stabilization and the switch between auto and manual focus. That's likely best done using the menu.
One of the areas where there's been significant improvement is in customization, to change from one set of parameters and settings to another. Now, the issue here is that it does take some time to understand how these features work and how you might configure the custom settings to suit your needs effectively. That requires some planning, along with an understanding of your preferred methods and workflow. Now, the mode dial has 2 personal settings, which are configured in the menu.
First, check through all of the parameters that can be set. There are 16 screens of settings which are stored for each. So you configure the camera the way you want, then go to the menu, select memory and choose 1 or 2. Then there are 4 more that can be saved and recalled from the SD card. I configured one for my preferred stills settings, the other for video, to quickly reconfigure from one to the other. Or, if you just need to change for a shot or two, use the Reg Custom Shoot set, but start by assigning a key to one of the 3 options. Then configure the settings you want for this key, or import your current set. When the assigned key is pressed, the settings change to the custom hold, but only while the key is pressed. I'd love to have a toggle option here so I don't have to keep my finger on the key. Or try My Dial. Again, start by assigning it to a custom key. There are several ways to engage this, but let me show you 1, 2, 3. Assign the settings you'd like to adjust with the wheel and the dial. There are a bunch to choose from. Then press the key, and the dial functions change for each of the 3 settings you assigned. The custom keys can be assigned to have specific functions in different modes, stills, video, and playback. The function menu can be reassigned. And note that if you remove the settings from the bottom row, it will reduce the menu to a single row. And then there's My Menu. For those who find the menu badly organized or want easy access to some specific features. It takes time both to grasp the full potential of these customizations and then to configure them for your workflow. Let's start with the controls in manual and then add the automated exposure features. Press ISO and select an appropriate starting point. The screen shows that the top dial sets the aperture. This is the Sony's A16-70 with a constant f4 closing to f22. The back dial sets the TV, time value or shutter speed, from 1/4000 to 30 seconds, and in manual, bulb. No time limit is specified. Although you have to be careful not to accidentally engage the other modes, which are activated when the dial is pressed. Would be nice to have a front-facing dial. Press Fun to select your metering mode. In addition to the usual suspects, 2 sizes of spot and highlight, which exposes down from the brightest object. The meter reading, displays at the bottom of the screen. There are 3 extended ISO modes below 100, 5 extended modes above 32,000, up to 102,400. Unfortunately, there's no meter display while you're adjusting the ISO. At 6400, the details are sharp and clear, with slight color noise in the dark areas. Noise increases along with the ISO, but not dramatically, and there's good definition up to 51,200. At 102.4, the noise becomes quite disturbing. Once you've established your tolerance, you can configure AutoISO with your maximum. Because an automated feature may not always provide the results you intend, AutoISO has one more trick in the menu. It's available in program and aperture priority modes. In addition to selecting the minimum shutter speed, the faster, and slow modes can prioritize either shutter speed or ISO quality. Though for this image, standard would be ISO 500 at 1/100th. Faster is 1/400th and ISO 1600, while slower sets the shutter at 1/25th with an ISO of 125. In shutter or aperture priority, press the bottom of the control dial to change exposure compensation, displayed where the meter was. In program, turn the back dial for program shift, other aperture and shutter settings that provide the same results. There is a green auto mode, and although it can be useful for detecting scenes, it doesn't support exposure compensation, white balance, or any of the other color settings, as well as most of the functions in the Fun menu. I'm giving it a pass. Use the scene position to select scenes, and these can be useful. For example, switching to sports not only increases the shutter speed, but activates burst mode. And anti-motion blur combines multiple exposures in dark settings for a better low-light result. To get accurate colors for the current lighting, from the Fun menu, select one of the many white balance presets for specific lighting situations, or use the Kelvin setting for a specific color temperature from 2500 to 9900. Or capture and save a custom white balance using a white or gray card. All can be modified using a color tint grid. Like AutoISO, Auto White Balance also has priority capabilities. The standard reading, one that is true to the ambience, providing a warmer scene in low-light interiors, and a white setting for more accurate white. The results are most obvious in low-light scenes with incandescent lighting. There's also a shutter white balance lock, which either sets the white balance when the shutter is soft pressed or holds a constant white balance during a burst. There are extensive presets and custom controls to select and personalize the color profiles. The creative styles offer an extensive collection of color profile presets, and the presets have scene descriptive names. There's black and white and sepia. Now, each can be fine-tuned with adjustments to contrast, saturation, and sharpness. 6 style box slots can be customized for your own color science adjustments. Start with a style, and then set the controls to suit your preferences. Picture effects provide more radical adjustments, but they're not available when RAW is on, or with silent shutter. Previous models had a larger selection, but these are the usual suspects, including several partial color options. The third option are the picture profiles, a unique tool set to modify the widest range of image properties available to consumers. These are designed for video, but can also be used for stills. There's more functionality than I can cover in this review. Use Sony's Guide for Creators to understand what the settings enable, and to start the journey to create your own color science. Please click to continue to the second part, where I'll provide details on focus, drive modes, and video.